thinking about maybe just riding by one day. I feel confident she wouldn't come in the door. Yeah, it is. He wanted to, but she didn't. I kind of understand, but no. You know, it's different. First time she met.
Oh, okay, I see it now.
I just see there's one there, there's another.
Hey, Byron, what did Laverne say to you when you came in the house?
Because I used to go upstairs all the time. And the last few times I walked, she was the first thing I ever met. You're back.
I swear.
Oh, no.
She's sitting in her chair over there doing it. You're fat. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
That's probably what
Let me
it
tell you
is, when he was a
something.
little kid.
Them Crowley girls and Aunt Cat, the things that come out of their mouth. Well, you know, Aunt Cat, well, honest and truly, wasn't that way. Aunt Cat was not like Lil and Laverne and Angie and her mama.
Yeah, she had her own personality.
She had her own personality, and she was not. Well, as the girls would say, she's not Crowley.
She was not a Crowley.
Hey,
And Laverne, she ain't, no, she ain't no Crowley.
yeah, that would hurt her feelings. So she'd say, Mike, she said, they just don't. I said, yeah, they understand.
Trust me, they said so much in front of her that she would start saying, you know, y'all, I'm not a Crowley.
Exactly.
Golly, she was like, wear that as a badge of courage, girl. Why aren't you happy about that? Why aren't you happy about that?
I cracked myself.
Where was the Seminole Ridge?
Surprised because this house is Seminole, okay?
Go right here.
Tell her some of your stories, okay? When you were on the sub and firing the rockets. You need to tell that story. Not that y'all did, the Russians did.
We just tried two guys one at a different place to go right here.
Grandson's in the army, and he can't tell TV because he's in the army and television.
They say. Some of mine is past the class start talking. But still, you don't hear it. Do you have any classified documents of hell of a place? Because you might be the only one there. The funny thing about it is just I did. The only exam should be the numbers that Liz taught us about some of the college stuff. But not just regular. Because of its
So I have any cert. Of course, I don't know where he got his speed from because your dad got it on his first year. I was but he was.
I mean, I assume it is to find out stuff. Guys on the outside, well, I'm sure now he's locked out.
Yeah, it's,
To make sure you get something. No, you go into the meeting.
But he never got.
Maybe the presidents keep that stuff in their house.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently there's not a sign.
Don't tell
Oh, man, we're gonna go there. Okay.
I don't know if it was like a library, but
We could do.
Raise your huge. Get you a better.
She's good at playing it off. I'm not that cold. I'm not that cold.
Because hey, listen, the whole thing, all you want baseball to do is were big, but I mean, even the ones that were big, they made a 6, 8, 10-year-old girl playing single double.
no, that's what it is. It's barking at people begging for food. That's what it is. That's what it takes them around for. You bite me now?
Sure.
When you bite me, you'll give me some more.
Here you go. Into that. Oh, you get it.
Did you guys get some more Australian shepherds? Where did you buy them?
We did these two. We all the rest of the rescue, but these two. I wanted my age truly. No, I lost enough puppies. I thought, if we buy one when it's young, he said it'll outlive it, you know. So we bought a puppy and bought one that was already 2 years old, and because we wanted two so they play together all the time. So, oh my God, you have no idea. All of our dogs have been energetic, but these two, 2 o'clock at night.
Did you find a breeder close by?
Well,
They do retire.
and New Smyrna.
I remember when they got the first one, I had to get a second one, but the first one was killing me.
Oh, they play all the time.
We got the one in
What kind?
Aussie.
Really? Oh, they're just full of, the little one was a blue pearl. The older one was a tri-colour. They're both females. He was a bigger bone. He weighed close to 60 pounds. These two weigh 42. Is it a male? It's white. Female is a little lighter. It's so much sweeter than male. Oh yeah. Really? These two, so
They're both makers?
yeah.
Sassy, the tricolor. We bring the ball and just stare at your phone.
That's what, see, the little one chews on the old one. after whenever we go places to make sure that it fits and all the places we do go to. When we go down to New Palm Coast and all that, all the places we go, all pet friendly. So.
Hold on.
We thought about getting
Hold on. Hold on.
I almost made Byron stay home. They had to stay with us.
We leave Blue outside. He stays right there in the
Oh,
garage.
well, the little one would love that. The little one would love that. The older one, she wants to be outside.
On the tree.
Now, at night, she wants to go outside. I don't know, in the dark, it's like she will fly out that back door and run everywhere. But during the daytime, the little one just doesn't give her enough time to go pee or poop. Doesn't.
we don't like traveling.
We need to get another one.
They are so fun to do. And you know, we will honest and truly go out even whenever it's cold in the backyard. And we'll be out there waiting for an hour. They will never stop running.
He won't
All
either.
the time. And we will laugh. I mean, she sits on her computer and I sit there watching and I laugh constantly. It's like watching fish. They are so funny. Thank you very much.
Actually had a camera at the place so you could watch it.
Little guy. The angry one.
The bean.
Felt like
Yeah,
That's the one he was feeding.
That's the bad
He
one.
swapped.
I had the other.
He swapped from Mike to you.
I guess it's because he's smart.
He smelled somebody else. Oh.
It's been destroyed, duct taped back together. It's a battery too, so you don't want to smack it. It's too. How are you? He broke it. Put some water on it.
How's Sean doing, Christy?
No, you don't charge it with your iPad. You charge it.
She's still the mayor or whatever? Oh, did she?
How come she retired?
She has a husband.
That was, I shouldn't have brought that up.
What are you building in Minecraft?
I retired a year early. Like, yeah. I'm still begging her to go back. Yeah, I can get this job just like that.
One call and you're in.
I'm telling you, there's jobs everywhere.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's crazy.
It is. It's funny, I see people not working. It's like,
You gotta bring your brick.
nobody wants to talk about it.
You know, I really don't mind working, honestly.
I work hard all my life. I love it. Work for me. I guess for my dad is a blessing. It's one of those things where even though I'm retired, the hardest part for me is to do nothing, which is why she's always saying we got to find something. You know, for a year and a half I had the Corvette, and I had it in the garage. I was fixing the garage up, getting the car fixed, and it gave me something to do. It was a toy, and it's not like the car's worth a lot of money, but
Something to do.
yeah, it was something to do. And now it's done, and she's been getting on it. You gotta find something. I do.
Jacob Dennis. Seems like it's the easiest sport anybody can do. You're not taking lessons anymore, are you? Are you? How's that working?
You know my problem? I'm not a multitasker. So I'm sitting there going, I told him that. One day I'll tell her, everything else.
Harley on that road, and ran that mule from the old guy, our neighbor, you know, because he had a mule with the plow, the old man to go over there and plow 3 or 4 rows because he took over. Because he asked me, he said, you know? I said, yeah. I know it. Well, I said, he didn't play with his kids over here. I'm going to go do that. He said, I've done that when I was a kid.
Dad loved stuff.
And he went over there, but Harley had brought his vet that day. Because Harley let me drive his vet all the way into town. Run around while I saw him and I do. And then I came back. So what's Jerry doing? What's Jerry doing? Like that Corvette, you know?
He always had an old model, an old Ford, or I'm telling you, that boy was always had something torn apart and putting it back together. He had that. Now, the one car I remember the most was just Torino. Yeah, he had a paper clip. Not a paper clip, but it wasn't up on his dashboard. He used to take guys out and just put $100 bill up. I bet you $100. I said, by the time I get to third year, you can't get that $100 bill. And the guy'd have to put up $100 for his $100. He always got the money. Always, you could. I'm telling you, there's no way in the world you were going to get that $100.
I drove it in, then when we left, we pulled over, he drove it back, and I think he made it back about half the time that I made it, because he went down, you know, the highway.
I loved Harley. Harley was a good old boy. The one I miss, y'all never knew, and that was Ronnie. Do you remember Ronnie, really?
We played with him in the front yard.
Who was that? Ronnie. Do you remember Ronnie?
He does. I do. Because I was running around with him.
Ronnie was my best buddy. I mean, we were 2 peas in a pod.
How old was he?
He was 13 and I was 12. He would be the oldest in the family.
Nobie Lee died at 13.
No, I really didn't.
Yes, she was. She was 13. None of us ever knew her.
He was the third one.
Yeah. Yeah. Grandpa died when Mama was 6.
Okay, what do you announce this? What do you have to say? He has note cards.
No, I got no cards because, I don't want to forget anything.
All right, we got a speech.
No, we don't have a speech.
Speech, yeah, we do.
Casey says he does.
So I want to recognize the people that came from Lake City over here. Jimmy and Clarice Boutwell were some of Mom's dearest, oldest friends that we were in Lake City for a number of years before she moved down to Fort Orange. Play softball. We had a softball league with the church, and everybody used to play and have a good time and all. I appreciate y'all. Mitch and his wife, Mitch Bramwell and his wife, Dorothy, they were Mom and Dorothy were very good friends.
There's spoons, that's all we need.
Yeah,
Spoons are good.
His mom passed away. Mom took it kind of tough. He had a couple of other friends that passed away before that, or after that, I guess. Beverly Hearn and Mom and David were all, from the Lake City area. Mom used to travel a lot. Sarah Johns is still in Lake City. She can't travel. I know I talked to her the other day. Another one of the softball breaks on the team, put her in shortstop and she scooped up everything that was in her seat. She was a great softball player. When Norma and I was there was one of the ladies there at Brookdale. Hazel was her name, and she was so funny. She came up to us that day, and we were cleaning out the room and packing up things and all, and Hazel sticks her head in the door, and she, gives us condolences and all, you know, and then she says, you know, she said, your mom, she had some great clothes. And I just looked at her and I said, you can keep them. Our grandpa.
Two big garbage full bags.
Our grandpa died when we were very young. On mom's side, Grandpa Layman died in '64. I just have a couple memories of him on the farm and
He was a good
gardening.
man.
Yeah.
I loved him.
Yeah. We were on Midway Island, you know, when he passed away, so me and Joe Craig and Eric kind of were left behind and fended for ourselves pretty much on the island there when they flew back to Jacksonville in the area there for the funeral and all, you know.
Interesting thing with that is Eric stayed with one of the other couples because Eric was kind of but Randy and I stayed in our home. 6 or 7, Randy's 3 years younger than me. And that's what you did back then.
Yeah.
In the evening, we went at dinner with somebody in the complex there. And they split it up. One night we'd go eat with somebody, and they were gone a whole week. And we got up in the morning, he and I, we got ourselves ready to go to school, went to school, walked back, and you know, you could do that back
You
in
didn't burn the
60s.
house yet.
Yeah, we didn't do it.
Yeah. Grandma was great, you know, her mom went through several bad men in her life. You know, Mike will tell you, you know, the story about their grandpa, you know, probably he just, you know, what was he, standing in a bar and got shot 5 times in the back, and that's how he died. 6 times.
The young man unloaded the pistol in his back. True story.
Yeah. Now our grandpa Layman, he, you know, they were all, their moms were all born in Olustee, and then mom was born in Doctors Inlet, which was outside of Middleburg area. She had
Big city.
She had a big city right there on the Black Creek or whatever it was called right there, you know. She had a childhood friend named Genevieve Wilbur that she grew up with, and Genevieve's, I want to say 85 now. I've talked to her several times. She had 3 boys that were all about our age, 1 year apart. And we for the longest, I thought it was my aunt, and those were our cousins because we always, you know, were around them all the time growing up. But her dad got into running moonshine back in the day. And eventually, as things happened, the revenuers caught him and put him in FCI prison right here in Tallahassee for a year. And unfortunately, they had a dairy farm there also that the inmates worked at, and Grandpa made a still while he was in the dairy farm and was selling his stuff there in the prison, and got an extra 8 months out of that. So a lot
This is
of
a good side of the family.
yeah. I mean, so that was.
But according to Mom, he was only watching the moonshine. For the longest time, it wasn't his. He was watching it until we figured it out by looking on the internet and finding out he was in Tallahassee and he was running moonshine for real.
But Grandpa was one of those that, you know, she'd tell me stories about him being there in the bar drinking, and the sheriff would come in there and say, Alton, it's time to go home. Thelma wants you home. He said, when I get ready to go, I'll go. And the sheriff said, okay. You know, he wasn't going to mess with him because he was...
Nobody messed with Grandpa.
No, you know, he was that type. And then, you know, he passed away, like I said, 64, you know, and then, you know, and Grandma was like 7 years older than him when she married him.
She was.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
He was 48 when he died.
Yeah, he was 48 when he died. And then she married James, you know, and things kind of went downhill from there.
Yeah.
We won't even go into the James stories.
Thank you.
You know, because I was a pretty bad man too. But Grandma was one of those that you could go to her house, and first thing she'd ask you is, son, do you want something to eat?
Yes.
You know, and she would make those hamburgers and put them in buns and then wrap paper towel around them, and that's how she served everyone, you know. But I remember one day, James, he was a part-time taxidermist, and when he was down there working at the Guava Canal or whatever, you know, back in his military days or whatever, he had all these animals on the hallway around there. You know, I know all of y'all have ever been in that house, you know, saw it. And he'd have the iguanas, and he'd have the python, and the alligator, and the porcupines, and all. And one day I was in there, and I was doing something with Eric, and we were fighting or something. And I saw what appeared to be a walking stick hanging up, sitting over there behind the door, and I grabbed it, and I was using it as a sword, you know, like this, and I was fighting with him, you know. And Grandma come in there, and she started laughing. Son, what are you doing? I was like, Grandma, I said, I just fighting, you know. She said, do you know what that is? And I looked at her, I said, well, it looks like a cane or something. She said, that's a bull peter.
How big was it?
I think it was that long. I don't know who shellacks and makes that.
True story. True story.
You know, and it seemed like all of our grandpas had these little killer dogs like the one that was terrorizing Hunter, you know. And they were all mean as hell.
Oh, they were.
You know,
They were.
nasty. But again, you know, I want to thank everybody for being here. You know, she would have appreciated this. And you know, you got something to say or talk about, a memory or something like that, it's always good.
I got one story to tell about it.
Yep.
Me, her, and Mom, we were visiting her, and we went up the road to a restaurant, not too far from her house, and we had crab legs all over the table.
Any catfish.
All catfish.
And so anyway, she's eating away, eating her crabs, and my mom spills the tea all over the table. Aunt Cat never missed a beat eating her crab legs. She didn't look up. She didn't care about the tea. I laughed about that. That's just one of my favorite stories of her. She was a hoot.
Yeah.
Aunt Cat will live on at our house every Christmas. We have her cheese ball. We have Aunt Cat's cheese ball. Oh, okay. Yeah.
I didn't care for
Every
it.
year, everybody asks, where did you get that? And it's all, that's the name of it, Aunt Cat's cheese ball.
And Casey got the recipe from her and has made it several times while she was here, and she will devour that cheese ball. I mean, when she was not eating but just like a bird, she would eat that cheese
I
ball
know.
like it was
So good.
Yeah.
With no crackers. She
Yeah.
eats the cheese ball.
And no utensils.
Right. Take it out. Definitely no utensils.
I remember Catherine, she was always so good about remembering everybody. You have a conversation with her, she was always asking about everybody by name. She could remember names, birthdays, and you know, I know there when she was getting forgetful, it would aggravate her because that meant so much to her to always be asking about somebody else and thinking of them on their birthdays and anniversaries. And just a wonderful lady, very, very kind and thoughtful, gracious, and just you know, she always wanted to go to Aunt Catfish's, you know.
Yes.
Out of town, you know, and have her table, and they knew her like
Yes.
like she was a part owner or something.
Yes.
So they got to attention when she came in, and it had to be just right, you know, or it would go back, you know. Yeah, wonderful lady, great friend of the family, and just her love for others and concern for others. Just a blessed woman.
That's true.
She kept a secret from me. We were working. You guys knew she worked at Lake City Community College and everything in the big admin building. I worked there one summer during the summer cutting grass and doing other junk, and caught myself a hognose snake. Now those aren't very poisonous, like they're not at all. And I opened the door and tossed that sucker into the admin building, and she knew it was me who did it because ladies came running out of that building. This kid named Kenny Sparkman and I, who used to be she was like the nephew of her boss. Her boss was, I forget her name, Sparkman. But we were just laughing our heads off as these ladies came running out to running from this hog-nosed snake, maybe 18 inches long. And when Mom came out, she saw us and thought, I know who did that. And we turned around and left. She never told us, but we had to. Because I was one who played with snakes.
And airplanes, all airplanes.
And somewhere there's a B-50 on the side of the road as it pulled out our truck and we never found it. We moved to Lake City and never found monster box.
Casey?
Oh, Casey's got a speech. I mean,
Yeah, let me go get it.
oh my God.
Whoa! How big is this thing?
He's been out in the yard practicing.
No, I have not.
Oh, Casey!
No.
See how sensitive? Yes, he was.
It was the Tropicana speech thing. That was what it was.
I say I didn't know like the boys very much and her grandchildren, but I know them from what she's told me. Every time I was around her, she would tell me about her family, and she loved her family so much. Grandkids, her boys, and daughter-in-laws, everybody. I got to know her and talking to her every time I saw her.
We'll sit here and grade this one.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming out. I wish it could be warmer, but you know, here with the breeze and everything. So I have to admit, I'm not a fan of the eulogy, and I don't mean the process of writing it or delivering it in good company like this. Rather, it is the concept itself that I believe to be dishonest. It asks us to be dishonest with ourselves in a moment of grief, to distill decades of life into a sterile vita of accomplishment, an education, a career, marriage, children, church membership, personal values, charity, to rhetorically bottle life itself as if it is for display. Now, this isn't to diminish any of those things. They're all fine and well. But if you look out at all those gathered in remembrance, not a single tear is being shed for those things. No. It's the personal that we're all gathered here for today. That moment of recollection where the best memory of Catherine comes to the forefront only to be chased by a hollow and somber burn. You bite your lip. You look at the floor. You clear your throat. Only to have that recollection become more vivid and the burn in the pit of your chest grows. The memory of a day after school, a family vacation, or just a day at the beach giving way to the reality that none of us will ever get to experience those moments with Catherine again. To us, the individual is not a list of accomplishments, but the experience we shared together, our memories. And so an honest recollection of a life can only come from the personal. For me, that comes from the formative years where you're just about old enough to want to do everything, but young enough not to get to do just about any of it. A situation only compounded by growing up in a rural enough area that, well, a 5-mile hike just about gets you to a gas station. For those years, a visit from Catherine meant freedom. She'd arrive on a summer evening with the promise that tomorrow I'll take you wherever you want to go. And she was true to her word. Well, only once threatening to ditch us at the mall, in a fiery debate over shoe pricing or something like that. If it wasn't a birthday or a holiday that warranted a gift, she could always be coaxed into stopping by Blockbuster Video without fail. By 8, I'd become a master of slow-walking her from her demand that you can rent one thing into a $30 video game console rental, a couple games, a couple movies. We could have just bought the damn things by then, how much we spent there. But I'd go up to her, well, Grandma, I have a friend coming over this weekend, and, we can both play it, and my parents, they'll really appreciate, that you kept us out of their hair and whatnot. Never failed. But freedom, that's what those visits meant to me. And the years that followed, that freedom gave way to simple good times.
It's a tiny ladybug, but it's broken.
the shopping trips, the early morning walks on the beach, and the ensuing arguments over whether the undertow could yank you down under the water. And just to get the last word in on that, no it can't, doesn't exist. She would scream to the contrary, though. Trying to sneak around her teetotaler house rules as a teen. And let me tell you, she played that game with an angle of false naivety better than anyone. Just when you thought you had her beat, she'd tell you that she'd overheard everything. She knew everything that you were up to. I raised 3 boys. You don't think I know what the hell you're up to? She'd tell us. And those later memories have a subtlety that it truly takes time to appreciate. Your fondness for them becomes as much a function of the passing of time as the events themselves. And those memories are the privilege of experiencing the warmth and company of family every holiday with Catherine. That togetherness. The time to reflect on the progress in each of our lives. To Catherine and to our memories. They're what we take from life, and we can only hope to live a life so rich in experience that someone decades from now will recollect on our time here with the same level of fondness. Thank you.
Great job.
And Casey, you did a good job on the obituary too.
Oh, thanks.
Oh,
Yeah, I wrote that.
Oh, that was great.
What, honey?
Now remember, she had one claim to fame. She touched Elvis.
Yeah, she did.
She touched Elvis when she was a teen. Her and Genevieve, right up there with Elvis was in
I could see it.
Jacksonville.
I could
She
see it.
got to touch him.
Well, your mom and Therese went to see Elvis, didn't they?
Yeah.
Well, nobody took me.
There's afraid somebody say, "There's Pootie over there."
Thanks, Mike.
I know, I appreciate it. I always hope to say too much.
Her friend Genevieve would call her, and the first thing that Mom would say, "Hey, Genevieve, this is no acetol." Because when they would get on the bus, they couldn't cuss, so Genevieve would call her, "Hey, no acetol." So I actually, when I was registering and putting her online so that I could control everything on her sites and all, the password was no acetol.
Oh, classic. Classic. Oh.
And the one nurse that was there for probably a good year, she came up to us when we left and we got everything cleared out. And she walked up and hugged us and she said, "Now don't forget when you do the headstone, ooey ooey." Because every time she would make a complaint or she was in pain, ooey ooey.
She was the only one that was a lot of fun all the time.
Yes, yes.
I'm telling you right now, her 3 older sisters were.
They were tough.
They were. They were. I'm saying one of them was my mother. Okay, so all of my memories with Aunt Cat, every single one of them.
Was fun.
They were, but they were all memories about her and her sisters.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever was with her, talked to her, or even on the phone with her, that she didn't almost every second talk about her sisters and her mother. Once in a while I'd get her to talk about her dad, okay? Because I was the only one that really knew Alton really well, and I loved him to death. He was, for me, when I was a little boy, he was a man's man, and I heard things about him once I got older that kind of disappointed me, but I always loved Grandpa, but she loved her daddy too. Yep. No matter what you hear about him, I'm telling you right now, she loved her daddy. Yep. she loved her mama, and she loved all three of her sisters.
Yep.
And I'm telling you, if you put them all in a room, you would never know it. Those women would just eat each other alive.
I'll tell you a story about that. My mom lived with me the last few years of her life, and I remember it wasn't too long before she was back in the bedroom, and I overheard her. She was just cussing up. And I was like, who are you talking to? I said, it was your Aunt Cat. Yeah, she did. I mean, yeah, you would never know that they cared for one another, but she used to fuss with Aunt Laverne and Aunt Cat constantly. But you know what? The next day, she'd be on the phone doing it again.
Oh,
Yeah.
all over again.
Yep.
And let me tell you something. If you or anybody else would say something about any one of them, they didn't forget that. Did not forget that you messed with her sisters or mother. Now, James was a different story. None of them had a problem with that. But her mother and her three sisters, I'm telling you, they would die for each other. Every single one of them. But boy, you kept the knives away whenever they were in the same room together. They had, I mean, it was fun. I mean, and us kids, especially when we were younger, we just sit back and, let's get out of the room real quick before something bad happens. I'm talking about since I was a little boy till I mean, they were gone. I mean, my mother was gone, and Laverne and Catherine were still alive. And I didn't talk to him every day. I talked to Laverne probably 4 times a week. And Aunt Cat called me instead of me calling her because she knew I was talking to Laverne. And Laverne got where some days she wouldn't pick up the phone knowing it was Catherine, because they would just go at each other. I mean, and Aunt Cat would call me up. She would say, Mike, Laverne just, she just, every time I get her on the phone, I can't get a word in. She talks and never stops talking. And I said, well, Aunt Cat, that's what she just told me about you.
Yeah.
I mean, I just get off the phone with Laverne, and Laverne's going, my sister, that, the one that's not a Crowley, she would say, that woman, all she does is talk. I can't get a word. And there's no way in the world either. They would sit there, and I guarantee you, for a 30-minute phone call, which was short, both of them would be talking at the same time for 30 minutes. They never hear what each other said. They just talk over each other. It was the funniest love. I'm not going to say hate, because there was no hate there, but there was a relationship between those sisters that I've never seen ever in my life, and probably never will again. They loved each other, and oh my goodness, it was okay for them they would just carve each other up. Something terrible. They were, I never heard my mother cuss unless she was, I mean, did Mom ever cuss whenever? Never. But boy, she'd be talking to one of her sisters. Oh, man, whoa, knew who she's talking to. But Aunt Cat she was the sensible one. Oh Lord, that would get me in trouble. But she was. And I can remember, must have been 24 times in my life. Every time I saw one of my aunts when they were all alive, always went up. I was kind of smart, and I'd walk up and I'd give them, how's my favorite aunt? And I'd say that sometimes forgetting that all the other aunts were there too. And boy, Aunt Lil caught me one time, and Aunt Lil, I heard that, Mike. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. Because every time somebody come in the door, you're my favorite aunt. How you doing? They were, Aunt Cat was just, she was a breath of sunshine. She was. And I loved her to death. And she was different than the other three. They weren't the same. They came from the same mama, but they were different, and they all loved each other, even though if you were a bystander standing outside, you never know. I loved Aunt Cat. I truly, truly miss her. love her a lot.
I was telling Glenda that I remember Aunt Lil visiting us at different times when we were kids. And Dad was in the service at different deployments and all. And I had a few memories of Aunt Lil coming there. And Mom was not a disciplinarian. She didn't dish out any whippings or anything like that. She would always revert to Dad if he was there. But then the one time that Aunt Lil was there, I do remember very vividly. Because we got in trouble then. Eric got in trouble. And I think I pushed him and he had dislocated his arm or shoulder or something. And she went out and got a switch off the tree. And just commenced to just whipping us with this thing, calling it tea. I'm going to give you some tea. And she beat us in the legs with this, and you know, for the longest I didn't like tea because I'd always look over my shoulder thinking that was tea.
I didn't think he got it.
That was called hot tea.
But I told Glenda, to this day, I still don't understand what that was about. Because how do you get tea out of beating somebody? But she would always, you know, tell us, you know, when Dad was around, you know, when your dad gets home, he's going to whip you. I'm going to make sure, you know. And then Dad would, when he did do it, he had this thing about him where he'd look at you and he'd take that belt and he'd make you lean over the bed or whatever, and he'd look at you and he said, I just want you to know one thing. This is going to hurt me more than it's going to hurt you.
Yeah, right.
And oh, hell no, I didn't understand that either. It hurt, and he was sitting there grinning. I think me and Eric were the ones that got the worst of the whoopings around there.
I knew how to run fast.
No, I don't think you ran fast enough the one time he grabbed you and jacked you up against the wall. I do remember that. He picked you up off the ground. You know, I think at that point you respected him. But then Mom would feel bad when we got a whipping and would come console us. But she was the one that, caused it. Or didn't cause it, but she made sure that it was discipline. We had a lot of good times in Lake City, I know. Swimming pool, the parties. Lord knows the
parties they didn't know about.
You know, I mean, back then you didn't, you know, the worst was beer. I mean, you drink beer, you know. And I mean, I remember several times, but one time I remember, you know, I was out and we were chasing one of my old girlfriends around town that was with a friend of ours we thought was a friend. And we were out there, and of course back then you didn't have cell phones and all these fancy gadgets. We had CB radios. And we had them, and Mom's Galaxy 500, I had a CB inside that thing, you know, so I could talk. And we're out there chasing this one, and I'm going around the corner, you know, and the tires are squealing as I'm keying the mic, and I'm telling Ray or Dale to cut them off here, cut them off there in town, and we get, I don't know, about halfway home, and there was this girl that was out there on the radio, and her name was Sweet Strawberry. And we'd never seen her in our life. She's probably 12. And she got on there, and she had a base station, and she says, hey, my nickname was Roho. And she says, I think somebody's trying to get you, Roho. And I said, okay, who's calling, you know? And about that time I hear Eric on the, you know, and then my dad gets on the base station that Eric had at our house. Had it up on the chimney to where it could reach pretty good out there. And my dad's nickname was the Yankee Clipper. And he says, Roho, you and Pinocchio kid, which was Dale, said, y'all come on, you know, you need to come on to the house. We got you. You know, we knew we were in trouble at that point. Eric had went in apparently and told him, hey, I'm he's doing this and doing that. And got us in trouble, the snitch, you know.
I had the door open and they heard me.
That's his story.
There you go. There you go.
time I remember when me and the guys were out drinking. We had a campsite across from the property out there. We had 20 acres, you know, out in the country, and so we were pretty desolate out there. We could do a lot. So we were camping just around a bonfire out there, and we were all sleeping the next morning, and I'm laying there, and you got frost on you because it was about 40 degrees. And I'm like, I could hear something in the background, and I didn't think Dad even knew where we were at. And all of a sudden, here comes this tractor riding through the pine trees into this little parcel of land. He pulls up, he looks at us, he says, y'all supposed to be working at the house today, you know, you got beer cans scattered everywhere, you know. It's like, okay. But, you know, he never said nothing to Mom about it. Not that she didn't know anyway. You know, and of course, Dale's mom used to blame me for everything. You know, Dale was just the perfect one. He never did anything. It was my bad influence on him. You know?
He wouldn't even admit it later in life.
No, no.
He still claims to be innocent.
Yeah, yeah. I was the influence, the bad influence. And, you know, send me that newspaper, I had to laugh. You know, when I was reading, I was like, God, you can't. I mean, Lake City was so small, you just forget that. You know, I mean, when you read that newspaper, I mean, like that's, you know, 8, 10, 12 pages, whatever, you know.
He did. He responded and said, I forgot how small Lake City was before obituary. I told him, I said, when the obituary comes, I get the paper digital, I will send it to you. So I sent it to him at 7 in the morning. And he answered me, he said, I have to tell you, I'm laughing. He said, I forgot how small Lake City is. I've already read the whole paper.
We used to call it the Lake City Repeater instead of the Reporter.
And we call it the Lake City Distorter.
New names.
Yeah. But Catherine, she always made me feel welcome. She always wanted you to come.
Yes.
If you were leaving, she wanted to know when you were coming back again.
Yes.
So it was my privilege because of her friendship with all of Mom and Dad. Being young, when I first got to know Catherine, I was the little sister that tagged along behind Sherry and Randy and them. And Eric was younger enough behind us even, but I was the young one that tagged with them, so I was close enough, 2 years behind. But then when I graduated high school, my first job was at Lakeland Community College. So I got to work with Catherine too, and she will defend you. I mean, she is yours. She's gonna make sure you're taken care of too. And then as I got older, my husband and I, we would go to Daytona for vacation. We took our boat one time. We took Catherine in the intercoastal on the boat. She said, you know, I've never seen any of this from this angle. We just had we had the best time. She always wanted you to come. We went and stayed with my son when he was like 4 or 5 and walked across the road, get to the beach, but it's always, when are you coming back again? Yeah. And I had forgotten who I had gotten my cheese ball recipe from. I'm getting my age now, and as soon as he said it, I said, Catherine, that's who it was.
No, I'll make sure Mom has my pecan brittle. I already told him I'm already burn it, so we can put it in her ash. Because I told her she couldn't have it until she died. So I said I'd put it in your coffin. Now she's not having one of those, so I'm in burn the meat. Put it in the urn. So then she'll be able to have my pecan brittle.
Got your urn back yet?
Yeah, I've got the urn in here. Unfortunately, the ashes aren't in the urn right now, but
Okay.
you know, we got
I
the
just
urn
wondered.
inside there. Yeah.
I wanna go play with the baby
And every time I saw Catherine, she asked me when I was going to have this baby and have this baby. And then I'm so glad when he was about 2 months old, Catherine got to meet him. And she was just so happy. And that's really not something that a
down here. Oh, okay.
I need you to give me something that I can send you
Okay.
all the info.
Come see us.
We will. It's really,
See us. We're gonna get down and see you.
Always good to see you.
904.
Hold on.
You know, if you show up 5 days a week, you get paid every day.
Oh, is he telling you all my business now? Oh, damn, you might
He
just want
says
to move you
you
in
might
now.
not be employee of the month.
Damn, I need a financial advisor. He's not doing me any good right
Good.
now.
You been
He's
busy?
not giving me any solid
Yeah,
advice.
I've been slammed up to about December, that figures, and usually December, January for us are a little slow, so, but
Is it
we'll
picking
pick back
back
up.
up?
Yeah, we're starting to
Leave me
get
a
some more
message.
calls now.
Okay.
And
So,
I will,
a lot more people
whenever you
asking for
send me
payments.
that, I'll have your phone
So,
number.
we'll start plugging
And I
along
can
again
text
here.
you.
Those Guatemalans work all the time, don't they?
Dude, I'm telling you.
You already speak that language?
No, but you know, I swear to God, I've been like, I want to get on that Babel or whatever and learn some Spanish just so I can
I
talk to
know.
them. Because I joke with them. Every now and then I look at them, I say, I know y'all talking about me. And they'll just look at me and start laughing. I said, yeah, I know damn well, you know.
They know what $100 is.
Oh, you know. Yeah, trust me.
Okay,
They know a
I'm
lot
not
more
gonna say it.
English than they let on.
Kids in
There's
it.
no doubt about it.
But yeah, they're 6 days a week, man.
They work. I mean, and they're like the right height to do that. I mean, they don't have to bend over. They just, it's
And listen,
crazy.
all 4 of my guys are, I think the youngest one, you know, he's 35. I mean, I got 150. You know, one.
Yeah, but he probably works like the 35-year-old. Yeah.
He's my height. He's
Yep.
5'10", 5'11", but he
You know, Grandma
doesn't matter.
Garrison.
And then I got
it'll be
one
all the
about
way
that
up to-
tall, you know,
there's-
and he just,
there's a
I
lot.
mean, these
In
guys
fact,
are nonstop.
one of the things I'll do,
They love
That's
doing what they
crazy.
do. They
Yeah.
don't mind it.
I'll give you
Hey,
my
good to
check
see you again.
out, myancestry.com, where you can go in.
Okay.
Hey,
And
Casey,
can
you got
see
that
all
on a
of
loop
it,
running
and
in
you
there?
can go to
Video?
Whenever you
I can
click
put-
on the
I'll-
name,
I'll make sure.
it'll
Yeah,
give
go
you
ahead.
four
Well, just
different
as long as
areas
it's
you
running,
can go
people
to.
walking in
Just
and out, there's pictures in there.
family
There's a
tree.
bunch of pictures in there on that one
Sprout it
table.
all.
Yeah, I've
From,
seen them.
Of old.
Yep, that's old stuff. A lot of it I didn't recognize.
And write names, birthdays.
Yeah, we flew back, yeah, you know.
Genealogy. It doesn't take
We're seeing that
It really does.
We got married and, 35 years ago. We decided, that's where we always wanted to end up.
But it'll actually, after a while, it'll populate.
Yeah, we were in Pensacola
I
for the
mean, it'll
last couple
have,
years, yeah.
it'll have all these little green leaves on it, and you'll go in and it'll
Last March,
show
decided we're
you,
gonna move, and
is
June we were
this
down there.
related, and you'll verify with
And you're in
mine,
Lakeland?
and
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
related.
How long
I've
were
been
you
there
there?
since '98.
It's so easy to
Okay,
populate.
you were
I've
there,
got,
'cause I moved to Winter Haven
grandma's side of the
in,
family.
96 and left there in 2004, so we were
No, I mean, it
still
really,
So
really
you
is.
still with State Farm?
Her side,
Okay.
much more
Well, you
than
know,
my
our
dad's side. But it's not all of them. You gotta understand, when
younger sister,
you're
Trina,
growing up,
her husband
what happens
was
is,
one of the big wigs
you're
at State
one.
Farm.
Oh, yeah.
Tom,
2, 4,
and he passed away 2 years ago.
multiplier, and you are getting,
Last name.
after
Do you remember what Tom's
12
last name was?
generations.
Teresa's husband.
it populates a lot. And it goes, I mean, like I said, you'll go in there some days and you keep going up.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, there's some more stuff there.
Tom, I think he was
Populated in.
Yeah. Well, he was.
He was in the main office there.
Yeah.
Listen,
But they lived in Orlando. And he had liver cancer, I think. Went liver disease, and then he got better for a while. I think he had a transplant. And then just started going downhill.
I'm glad
Passed away after 2 years.
Again, it's been since
It's been with
the
State
last
Farm.
time I saw you.
we gotta, hey guys, can we get a cousin's picture of all of us, the family together, please?
That'd be neat.
Please. We gotta do that. Randy, we really need to get one picture before everybody goes to the, all of us.
Before and after. That's what he does.
Junior. Junior's here. Eric.
You want Byron in on this?
Yeah, well, no, he's adopted. He doesn't count.
He doesn't get
That swings a lot.
Oh, that's why he said, he did say just leave a message. He did.
Oh, okay.
Where do you fly into?
I
Well, do you have a
Tucson, when I go back.
No, when you come in here.
Well, if I come only here at South Tallahassee, but usually I fly to Orlando because I'm staying with Eric and Randy both, and it's easier to go in than Orlando. But this time I flew directly to Tallahassee.
All right, go ahead, come on over here.
Got 2, 3.
Are you going to be in this picture?
Well,
Are you sure?
we can get a picture of everybody if you want, but I want to get the cousins. The cousins.
All right. Wait a minute.
Get where the sun. This is the wrong angle. We
Is
need
it?
To, yeah, we need to be over here, more in the shade.
Where?
Yeah, unless you want the sun in your face.
You don't want to be in the sun.
Meanwhile, my buddy was driving a car that he had up in the shop.
I already put my own name in.
Youngest in the front.
And I'm the oldest.
No, you're not. You're the next to the youngest. Where's Randy? Come on.
I think so, yes. Arcadia? I think that's the whole point of it being there.
Light is
Yeah, yeah. So, that's where they're dealing with all the...
No, it's off.
They had 68,000 they were running the auctions.
35. Yeah, it's running. Yeah, it is.
And they had to have a ton of help down from south, and it was like 2 months in, and they still were trying to get through the amount But I was like, when they said that, it's so loud.
Honey.
Really, because, you know, I was hoping, because, you know, I got the military ones with one of those.
Now, did we all stand in front of this camera for Bobby Roden? This one right here. Bobby, we're going to send this to Bobby, so. We'll tell Bobby, hey.
I was like, oh, okay, well, that's good then, because I know why it's in there, because of those times.
You ever see her?
Yeah, we saw her on the way down.
Well, we don't see any cats. That's what you say. You sound like an airplane. But no, I was going like 55. And I had to wait these down. And I could barely.
I will run away.
And I was really surprised when I was going.
I don't want to drop it now. Stop.
But it was like a car. It was like driving. It was the same.
Runs in a family. Runs in a family. It's not kidding. I got it. I was the one for a long time. Okay.
Bye. And it was nice to meet you.
But no, I actually went with like mud type.
My sister's name's Kathy. You guys have a good one.
How far a drive is it?
Yeah, Lexus. It's 5 hours.
Bags on that.
No, not too bad.
Oh, there's another one?
Yeah, there's one out there.
All right. Thank you, young lady.
I may work from old
Awesome to see you. I wish we had more time.
And we would have stayed, but she's got to turn around and go back home tomorrow or Monday. So she's only got one day.
That's fine.
She goes,
I'm glad she made an appearance.
So
Even
they
if
went
it's 5
after me
minutes,
for
I'll
a
take it.
while.
she says, I don't want to be in the car the whole time. I was like, I didn't
No.
think about that.
Yeah.
I said that because you were like, oh, well,
I got everything in order though. Now I'm in compliance
And
with
I'm
the city,
like,
so it's
Dump
just
you off.
okay, so that's like, you know, 5 hours each day.
I got a
The bus is leaving.
4 inches, 36 tires.
I like how you put that. You're like, I'm about to leave.
He wouldn't even he tells it like it is.
You would stay.
See you guys later. Hey, Junior.
Yeah, so this is the back of the house. We have two
I've been off Facebook now for almost a year.
I'm going to make you come
back
see us.
lot.
Take care of your mom.
But I just on the other side.
Anymore.
My wife did, so I
Yeah.
Randy followed.
But now,
I see
like
you
the
all.
point where the only thing I have
Y'all
left to do is I got to so because this parcel.
Does that mean you want to sit in the?
I cannot have a.
Does that mean you want to sit in the front?
Cannot have an
Sit somewhere?
structure.
No, not outside, not exposed.
Why? Because it's the sun.
I was in the sun, but after you sit outside and not move, remember what you used to tell me? If I jump in the pool, it's not going to be cold. And when I'm keep
As long as you're moving.
As long as I'm moving, I'm going to be fine.
That's the property line that we had staked all the way through, all the way goes down. That's where this fence actually goes over the property on my side. Stakes from that point on are on my side, because it's part of the fence is on his property. But that's the area of his protection. Over. And he won't move it. He said, I don't care. I've had 2 survey companies out there. He said, I don't care what a survey company says. I say it's mine.
He's a ghost. He's one of the family.
Yeah, that's what this dude said.
I'm a lover, everybody knows that.
But,
you can take that.
Yeah, you
I
are.
I have to parties. I really want this thing.
You already tried. How do attorneys on a
I like them. You like me because I listen.
So that's what I started doing. Because he took so I brought 2 fences up. He's torn them both down.
I know.
I worked with him a couple times, summer for about a week here, a week there, and it was pure murder.
And then I got
I remember this.
He misread his
Grandma finally got there. She pulled me out and said,
the one that's
let's
been
all
there
go
for 40
outside.
years.
And we did, and she said,
And then so I put another one up, and he tore that one down. So when he tore that one down, I called the police. And they wouldn't do anything. So I started like cutting his fence down.
he ripped her.
And
No, he must have forgiven me.
They were going to file criminal charges against me for cutting a fence down that was actually on my property.
So he had forgiven her.
Right. But not only that, but when they first came out, they actually issued
The word was
thrown out.
A lot.
What kind of a
They actually gave me a case number.
Words I heard from them. Listen, I was pretty young.
Support date, and then they called it in, and because the dude is one of the contractors working with they freaking said no.
That night he was out there and made a real scene.
So that's what we're having to deal with.
Since ass and
This is the same
ever
people
since that moment, I
took Betsy
never had respect for God. Ronnie was my best buddy in the whole wide world. And when he died, I mean,
did was bark at him.
that was worse than mom and dad. It was dramatic. When I was 12, he was 13. And the words that he said there, he was drunk. He was drunk.
He was fine with me after a while because I was a baby like he was.
That's the house, but they yeah.
That dog was just that night, and now it's on the couch, sleeps with him.
You remember that whole street? He left that guy.
I was supposed to be it, and he had me sign all the paperwork, and then
And that thing
just before he
that
died.
Randy said walked around with a cane, that guy,
We live with them. I mean,
Larry had it.
Yeah, right.
they own the house.
Yeah. Oh, it was about yay tall.
Yeah.
And it was, I
It's still
remember
in that
that
shop.
we know it was a penis. You know,
Yeah.
afterwards
He,
we didn't know it initially.
Oh, somebody still has that?
yeah, Larry, that guy, that trim shop,
Around friend.
well, it was, he's dead.
All these South American and Central American animals in there. They were all
Yeah, he had
under-
That house
anacondas, all
at
kinds of stuff.
dusk.
Well, that anaconda was the
That
worst
house at
done
dusk time,
ever.
whenever
I mean,
the sun
and
would
then
go
the one
down,
monkey he
was
had
so
that the face
eerie.
was
What was that one thing that was like, was it like a aardvark or
He
something?
had a sloth hanging
Yeah, it was
with
a
a baby
that's what it
on
was, a sloth.
With a baby
Sloth
hanging
with a
on
baby
it.
hanging on it.
But
He
I said,
shot
but
everything
I tell you what,
down
some of his work though, that anaconda was ugly, and they had a monkey I think that was ugly.
It
in the
was.
face.
He had a gator too, didn't he?
No, he did. It was a gator.
Yeah.
Had a gator.
Or
I
if not
remember
a gator, it's a croc.
Mom would want me to
Was
go
it a
spend the night
croc or-
with my
okay.
grandma and them, and I hated sleeping in that house because it was scary. All them damn animals.
You could go to the, let me tell you,
Everybody was afraid.
you
to
could
down
go
there.
to that back refrigerator and there were always Cokes in there. All Cokes in there.
He was all right to me. He never was mean to me. Him and Dad got along pretty well.
Yeah.